My name is Joshua Gibson, and you are listening to the Philosophical Weightlifting Podcast, a show dedicated to promoting a message of critical thinking as it pertains to strength training, nutrition, and well-being. This is done through interviews with experts, high-level athletes, coaches, and people heavily involved in strength sports and athletic development. Pull up a chair, grab a coffee, and let's get on to today's podcast. Hello and welcome to another week of the podcast. And I'm actually honored. One of the stronger people I've ever been around and gotten a chance to watch lift is on the other side of this call. So Maddison Pannell has joined me. How's it going, Maddison?
It's going well. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And I think people are starting to become more familiar with, your training and all of that stuff. Not only because it's through Cal Strength and that like acts as a way for people to get a little more exposure, but also because you're just really freaking strong and your lifts seemingly keep climbing as the weeks and months go on. It's, and it's crazy too, because recently you kind of had the change in weight classes and you never know quite what to expect with that. You always know, if I can maintain the same performance, better placing, that's kind of the obvious point. But you started just stacking kilos, and I'll be really interested to hear what's played a huge part of that. But currently, it's after the AO series meet where you lifted and did very, very well. But now you're taking some time to back off, and maybe you can just talk about what that's been like for you. One, having such a great meet, and then having kind of a few weeks to readjust, reacclimate, and get ready for training.
So talking about the meet, I did not have like a great meet. I had a good meet, but if it was great, I would have snatched a little better. But these 2 weeks have been good, honestly. I just kind of being like a human again and trying to take advantage of the time that I have off and fold my clothes and to organize my closet and, just go do things, go out to eat. Just things I don't normally do. I don't really miss those things, but I feel like if I might miss those things, I could do them now so I won't miss them later is my mindset. I don't know. We've been just doing pulls, pretty light, and then accessory work, a lot of it. And I'm just ready to get back to training now.
And I think it would probably be useful because, a lot of people are thinking, well, after a meet, I go right back into training. I remember my first competition, I did pretty well and I was so excited. And maybe it's just like the first meet kind of high you get. I maxed out the day after, like PR'd my clean and jerk. But again, I was terrible. I was trash. So PR wasn't that hard to make. But for you, I mean, maybe you can discuss what training is like normally for the team, how it, changes as you're leading up to a meet, because I'm not sure if people understand, the number of sessions you guys have per week, how tough they are. And then the rest afterwards is really well-deserved.
Yeah, this is my first break that I've taken, the whole week off. And it's funny because even after December, after Nationals, AO finals, whatever that competition was online, I was in the gym like the next day, and Wes was actually like, "No, you need to rest. But I'm like, "No, I'm new. I don't need to rest." And then, so that like after every competition so far, like I've been like super eager to get back in the gym, but this one going back to back, I was pretty tired, and it was a hard training cycle, like probably the hardest one that I've been in yet. And, working and doing nutrition and like, it was kind of taking it out of me and cutting at the same time. And this time, this cut was just a little bit harder for some reason. I don't even know why. It's doing the exact same things, bodies, what are you going to do? But, I was excited to take a week off. But leading up to the competition, I mean, there's cycles that you go through, and we were only on a week taper. Coming from really heavy lifts, from a lot of volume to like a taper in like a week I actually really like that because I'm more confident, and I felt like super, super strong in my clean and jerks.
Yeah, and I mean it showed. It really did. And before we get into the actual specifics of the performance, maybe we can rewind a little bit and talk about the decision to move down to the 49 kilo weight class, when that happened. And then, I mean, people probably follow your Instagram, I'm not sure, but you are absolutely shredded. So I don't know how it felt moving from, a higher class to a smaller one, given that a lot of it, must have been body fat, and maintained a lot of muscle. And again, your clean and jerk's blown up. So it's been kind of the best of both worlds, getting leaner, staying muscular, and then getting stronger. So when was that decision made? What was the process like? And is it easier to maintain it now that you're kind of more around that weight class, give or take a few kilos?
Yeah, so it was October of like 2019 when we decided for December 2019 for AO finals.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally a couple words Dave had said to me, and he was like, "What's your body weight?" And I was like, 56. And he was like, "You should go down." And I literally that was it for me. And I was like, "Okay." And I literally went home that day and like started kind of like researching like how to cut weight. I just started I mean, I was a 55 kilo lifter who
Mm-hmm.
was eating terribly, and
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to what I ate. My body really was just like okay with taking off all that weight that quickly. That day of the competition, I did feel like shit, and I did feel like maybe this isn't meant for me. Like there was like a couple thoughts like going through my head, like saying like, wow, is this even worth it? I like, how am I supposed to lift when I feel so lightheaded? I haven't drinking any water. And then I lifted, went 2 for 6 and was just really happy, and was just like, okay, the body is such an amazing thing. Like, it's my brain. The first thing that's going to give is my brain. And I have to
Mm.
mentally prepare myself to do that again, because this is my weight class.
Yeah, I didn't realize you'd done that so far back. And it's funny too, because I think Kelly actually had a similar story with Dave where he just made like an offhand remark, and it ended up turning out to be a great decision. Have you noticed a difference, like with your training at all? Kind of losing that weight, the amount of work you can handle, or anything in general? Because as you start to get leaner and leaner and leaner, I think those things are magnified a little bit more. But I guess you kind of mentioned it from the outset that it was relatively a smooth transition, and the weight came off a little more easily. So is training kind of the same way? You feel the same. It's not as hard to recover from, or as hard to kind of go through those 2 days, multiple days a week.
The recovery aspect right now is like easier. I mean, I'm pretty new in weightlifting, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I reached my full potential as a 55 and then I tried to cut. I
Right.
was just learning weightlifting, and then I cut in the process of learning weightlifting, and I'm still learning weightlifting. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of been it's an easy transition for me, just because I haven't been weightlifting for very long, and I feel better because I have fell in love with the process of nutrition, doing all these online classes now, and it's been more educating for me to be like, oh, this is what my body needs, this is what my body wants. So I'm smarter, I'm skinnier, I'm stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those aspects have just bringing me to the, today, and I feel like fucking great.
No, that's awesome. So you manage, and when Dave said that to you, it was kind of your inclination to just take on that responsibility yourself and learn how to go down a weight class, how to manage the cut, how to manage all of the things that also go around that, kind of like getting ready for competition, trying to put on, effective weight. That was something you just took on yourself, is kind of the responsibility of Maddison Pannell.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was his idea, and he helped me, but ultimately, I mean, I guess that really does have to be your decision if you're going to cut like 12 pounds in 2
Mhm.
months. So,
But all of the, like, the other stuff that goes along with that, so learning how to effectively do it, you felt like you were the best person for that, or that it would be a good kind of setup for like the position you're in now to help other weightlifters, or people who are in a similar position who want to lose weight or change weight classes?
Yeah, so actually I didn't know what I was doing at all. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what made me want to help people, is because I was like, I need to eat 1,000 calories a day to lose all
Mm-hmm.
this weight. And I need to, it was more like I was feeling like crap and I didn't know, and I should have reached out for someone for help. I should have and that's kind of like how I feel now, is like, that's what, because my first cut was definitely probably dumb. It was just like, it was 2 months, like literally one egg for breakfast. I like still can't eat eggs. And I honestly didn't even know, I feel so dumb for saying this, but I didn't even know like what like a macro was. Like being educated on that, and then I started like tracking my food, and like listening to other people kind of was like, oh, I need to eat 1,000 calories. That's what other people are telling me to do. Yeah. So, I mean, other people as in like not people who know what they're talking about. So it was, no, it was super dumb. And then after that, I was like, I'm going to make sure I do this the right way. And then that's when I started educating myself like more on like food, and like, oh, I need more food. I need more protein. I need less fat. I need less carbs, like kind of thing.
Do you feel like, and you kind of mentioned that, and I guess this is a good opportunity for us to rewind and go back a little bit to one, what you were doing before you got into weightlifting in terms of athletics, and then we can kind of talk about your introduction to the sport. So before you did get into weightlifting, we kind of talked off air about you working, part-time in a gymnastics gym. When did you start doing that? Because people who, again, go on your Instagram can see all of the videos of you kind of rehashing like old skills and coaching up younger kids. So when did you get into gymnastics? And then we'll obviously talk more about that.
I was 9 years old when my mom kind of put me in, and I was like, we call it like the backyard gymnast, just literally going to my neighbor's house, like trying to figure out how to do a front flip and stuff. Just like a pretty natural athlete. And my mom was like, we were a pretty broke family, and gymnastics is expensive. So she was holding off so long to put me in gymnastics. So I didn't actually start gymnastics until I was 9 years old, which if you're in the gymnastics world or you know anything about it, like 9 is late. So I went through gymnastics and I got to level 10. I excelled pretty quickly. And so I've been doing it ever since I was 9, and then I just started coaching when I was like 18. But I quit when I was 18 just because I was, I all of a sudden got all these mental blocks. Like colleges were like kind of looking at me, and I was in a really bad relationship, and my ex was like, if you go off to college, like we're probably not going to be together. And my dumbass was like, okay, I'm not going to go off to college then. So stupid. Don't ever do that. Don't ever listen to a silly little boy when you're 18. Yeah, so that was kind of it. And then I've just been kind of coaching gymnastics ever since.
I remember, Glenn Pendlay used to always say when he would talk about kids he was coaching or guys he'd work with, he's like, men are pretty much useless until they're, around their 30s. And that's when they're actually, respectable and useful. And I always laugh because, I hear stories like that. And I think back on what I was like. I'm like, man, I was such a shithead. There's actually a really funny Facebook memory that popped up, and I don't know if I should say it on the podcast. I'll make this explicit, but it was like a quote from a song or something, and it's like, "Cash make the coochie go woo woo," and I have no idea why I said that. Like that, it's so ridiculous.
Repost from like 9 years ago. Like, oh my God.
Exactly. So it's interesting to hear. I didn't realize you had done it for 9 years and then taught it, which I think helps kind of reinforce the skills and the understanding of the sport. When you were doing it, what were some of your favorite events, or what did you tend to excel at?
I was good at beam and tumbling. So like just tumbling on the floor and then like tumbling on the beam. I didn't like bars, but it's funny because I like play around with gymnastics now, and bars is my favorite to play around with. And I love coaching bars, which is weird because I hated doing it as a gymnast. But if I
Mhm.
could go back, I would definitely like take advantage of that time I had in the gym and just kind of go for skills because I was a little scaredy cat at the end.
And I've spoken to Kevin Simon, and he obviously got involved with gymnastics and did that for a while, and then he moved his club into like a gymnastics gym, and I think he works with athletes pretty closely. Do you feel like weightlifting or just lifting in general is kind of undervalued in the gymnastics world?
Yeah, but I didn't know what weightlifting was either until like
Right,
years ago.
right. Do you think if you would have lifted, I mean, you kind of talk about how now you feel more comfortable with the bars and coaching it. Do you think you would have been a better gymnast if you would have taken up some sort of like resistance training or strength training, while you were also working on your gymnastic skills?
Yes, absolutely.
That's really cool, and I think gymnasts are honestly some of the best athletes to work with because of the impeccable balance and also like coordination and all that good stuff. So have you been coaching since you were 18, kind of up until this point? Because I know you do it part time, but has that been like a thing you've kind of kept up with?
Yeah, I just started doing part-time ever since coronavirus pretty much because
Hmm.
I was a full-time like working there full-time, just grinding during this time that I had off doing all this nutrition stuff. So I'm, you know, fortunate enough to be able to work part-time now.
That's awesome. When did you get introduced to weightlifting? And then we can kind of talk about, I mean, managing all of the things that you were managing and have continued to manage throughout that. But given, when you first come into the sport, you're obviously a rank beginner. You obviously don't know a lot about what's going on. Um,
Nothing.
you know,
I don't-
yeah, nothing at all, right? I could say that about everything. So when did you first get introduced to weightlifting? And just out of curiosity, was it through Cal Strength or was it through something else?
It was through something else.
Okay.
I was just a regular CrossFit person who was doing CrossFit like maybe 3 times a week, 4 times a
Mhm.
week, drinking some alcohol, partying on the weekend, still in that bad relationship.
Mhm.
And I decided after my dad passed away, and
Mhm.
I decided to just delete everything out of my life that was just unnecessary and unhealthy.
Mhm.
And that ended up actually being that relationship.
Mhm.
And, like party drugs and alcohol. And I was like, I'm going to start working out more because I ended up gaining like a bunch of weight, like,
Mhm.
eating Taco Bell every night and drinking beer. So after my dad died, I like was like, okay, I'm going to get like super serious in CrossFit. Um, Ended up never getting super serious in CrossFit, and then my CrossFit coach was like, "Hey, there's like a weightlifting meet here, or like in this Sacramento, and it would be really cool if like some of our members got together and did it." And I was like, "YOLO, like okay." And I didn't really know what to do, and then so I did my own research and, like, looked up what numbers I needed to hit kind of thing and, like, converted it to, like, pounds, and then I reached out to some coach, the weightlifting coach who I knew, like, did that kind of stuff, and so he kinda helped me a little bit, like, figure out, like, "Oh, you need to cut to, like, this 121 pounds if you want to hit these numbers." Like that's how that works. It's by weight class. And I was like, okay. So I ended up cutting 10 pounds then also
Mhm.
after I cut 10 pounds before that. So I was ended up cutting like 20 pounds before this date I competed. And then I just, right as I like stepped on the platform and like even prepping for it, I remember like hitting my openers like 10 times every day. I was like, this is good. I should do this. So I just was like literally snatching every day and like trying to hit my openers, and then like clean and jerking every day, like trying to hit my opener. And then
Mhm.
just went to the competition, and I remember Kevin Doherty was there and he was like trying to help me. And, like one of like my old friends was there too, and he was like trying to help me, and I was like, no, I'm gonna hit the number I'm gonna hit out there. I'm gonna hit it back here too. So just make myself feel more comfortable. And they're like, um we don't usually do that. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it. Like, it's fine. So I ended up like hitting my opener in the back, just like, and then I did it again on the platform. It was a mess.
I work in a CrossFit gym. I work with a club that's inside of a CrossFit gym, and knowing that you were one, like an exceptional athlete, and then already strong. Like I think I've seen a video of you clean and jerking like 200 pounds. I think when you were kind of, I don't know if you're transitioning out of CrossFit and just getting into weightlifting or
Yeah,
what,
that was it.
but okay. So for people who are, stronger and more talented with the lifts, is it a matter of just exposing them to weightlifting through like a competition? Do you think there's any way like weightlifters or coaches can effectively get people who are really talented and could be really good from CrossFit to maybe transition over or to dabble their toes and try it?
I mean, yeah, I don't see why not.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I think that decision is, if you want to be good at weightlifting, like, you got to just do weightlifting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But sure, if you want to do both, go for it.
Sure. So then you obviously started training, and then started working with Dave at Cal Strength. What was that transition like when you first got involved with the team? And I'm kind of curious to hear too how your relationship with Dave has changed, from your first time walking in until now, which we'll cover. But what was it like the first time you started lifting at Cal Strength?
I was doing CrossFit like part-time and doing
Mm-hmm.
weightlifting part-time, and this posting on Instagram, and this guy reached out to me and was like, hey, like, you're actually like not terrible. Have you ever heard of Cal Strength? I was like, no, I haven't. He's like, you should look him up. So I just like looked him up on Instagram real quick. Literally didn't look at anybody's name or anything. Just like looked at like 3 videos of like people lifting. I was like, wow, they're really strong. And he was like, hey, I go there every Thursday and Friday. Do you want to like take a trip with me? It was all safe. I ended up some random guy on Instagram. But I'm okay. I'm alive. And we ended up going, and Wes was at World, so it was just like me and Rob was there, and then and he was like, you should ask Rob to like count for you at AO finals. And I was like, okay, because I qualified for AO finals at this CrossFit gym, and at this first meet is like what the goal was. So I ended up qualifying, and then I needed a coach, right? So I asked Rob, and Rob was like, yeah, but you're going to have to like pay me. I was like, shit. So I don't have like any money. I asked Scott Esparza. He's like one of the guys and, like behind the scenes guys.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. And I was like, I need some help. And he's like, well, what are your numbers? And like, I told him my numbers. And he's like, let me text Dave right now. Like, I'll let you know. I was like, okay. I remember him coming up to me next time he saw me and was like, yeah, we can maybe count for you. Like, if we have like someone like extra there, like we'll count for you. And I was like, okay. And, like, cause first walking in, I just saw it as like a gym, and like I literally was thinking like, people actually do this. Like, there's literally plates and barbells. Like, this is like, people actually like lift in like a gym just for lifting, like nothing else. I was like baffled. I remember just, like just watching, and then when like all the team came, and I was like, was like, what time do you guys work out? And they're like 5. So I remember coming at 5:00, and I was like, I can't even go near them. Like, I'm like so scared, and I was just working out on the back platforms, like the far away platforms, and just watching and like literally listening to like whatever correction anybody gave anybody. I was listening, and I was like taking that account for myself. So that's kind of how I learned and started getting better, is I just started listening to the corrections that, Dave was giving Wes, and, like all the teammates were giving each other, and Rob was giving his clients like next to me and stuff. So
that's really interesting to hear you move from kind of the person in the corner or the back of the gym, to being one of the, the pieces I think people think about when they think of Cal Strength. So from that point, as you started kind of working up until, I guess, today, what competitions have you since done with with Cal Strength? How have they gone? Because it seems like, you were making really good progress, but suddenly, I don't know what happened, but your clean and jerk has just blown up.
So I've just done a couple, like, I think this was like my fourth national competition.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I've done a couple local meets here and there. Being on those strength cycles and like just
Hmm.
putting, I thought I was working hard before, like, no.
Mm.
And I feel like I still can work harder. So, I mean,
Hmm.
just be prepared for another big ass clean and jerk in June. So,
No, that's awesome. And how have you managed handling, I guess, working so much alongside that and then trying to train full time as well? And I guess the whole pandemic thing has changed that. And I say this not because it was a good thing to happen, but it's changed it in a way that's probably freed up a lot more time to train for you, which could obviously be really helpful, not having to work, multiple jobs. And then try to train full time on top of that. So once the pandemic started, how did that change, life for Maddison? And then throughout its kind of evolution, what does that look like?
well, I mean, yeah, like I like to look at the positive things and everything, like,
Hmm.
well,
Right.
what can I take out of this in like a positive way? So, yeah, of course the pandemic, shut down the whole world, and I got to not work. I was working through Zoom though, so I mean, it's not like I wasn't doing
Hmm. Hmm.
anything. So I was
Right.
working still like 5 days a week over Zoom, but I got to make my own schedule kind of thing, and I got to train. I was still training the same amount of days, the same amount of
Hmm.
time. I just wasn't, physically going to work.
Hmm.
So in hindsight, like I just stopped the restaurant job.
Hmm.
So I was, Saturdays and Sundays, I was on my feet for 12 hours, and I didn't realize how much of an impact that had on my recovery.
Hmm.
Standing for that long after, I would go to work out on Saturday mornings, and then I'd go to the restaurant, and then I'd go do it again on Sundays, and then I'd train twice a day on Monday and then go to work. Like, it was a lot, and
Hmm.
I was like, this isn't anything I can't handle. But now that I have not been doing it, I wouldn't go back for sure.
No, I think that's actually something that people don't really think about, is you get so used to a schedule or a routine that you just assume, oh, this is normal, this is fine. But once you actually free up some more time to either dedicate to, work you enjoy, or to your training, or to whatever matters most, you realize that it makes a big difference. Not a small kind of like, it kind of helps. Like, it actually makes a big difference. So
Hmm.
for you not having to work, another part-time job, I'm sure, yeah, again, you've felt better, we're able to train better. And then now, even with the change to working on the nutrition side of things, I think just working with athletes and working on something that's, like that's really enjoyable could be beneficial as well.
For sure. I love it so much. But the going back to like the pandemic,
Hmm.
um, that's, I think, where I started, Dave started paying like a lot of attention to me because, he
Hmm.
had nothing else to do. And I think that's when I started excelling so much. It was easy for me to keep the weight down just because I knew what was kind of going in my body, and I was like educated on that part. And I
Hmm.
was getting stronger at that body weight, and he was helping me. So
Hmm.
I think that's also, he was like kind of looked at me for a second, was like, okay, stay over the bar a little more. and, and then after that, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, you're my coach now. You have to tell me what to do all the time. And then I think when he realized that like I will do anything and everything to, be the best, I think he started investing more time in me. It was like, oh, this girl is not just here for fun. Like, she's here to win.
I watched a video recently on Instagram where you were doing I think it was like a high hang snatch. It was a PR. It's like 81 kilos. And Dave is literally in the back with his head down, just like looking at something else. And
That
it's
was
funny
an
because, like,
old video.
yeah, it's an old video,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, I was just looking back and thinking of how funny it is to kind of see that progression. How long do you think that took? I mean, you said kind of during the pandemic, but you were there for, a few months before you kind of recognized the work ethic, the potential, and all the stuff that came along with it.
Yeah, everything is earned with Dave, and
Hmm.
I feel like that should be like that with everyone. You
Hmm.
can't just walk in somewhere and expect everything from everyone. And I didn't, and he, now looking back, he's appreciated that, just saying like I
Hmm.
worked hard to get where I am. And I don't want to say like it's a hierarchy at Cal Strength, but you have to earn your spot.
Hmm.
And me earning my spot and showing my value, I think that it's beneficial to Cal Strength, and it's beneficial to whoever I inspire, and he notices that I go out of my way to reach out to people, and and I try to do my best to inspire people and just keep that confidence up, and it's beneficial to everyone, not just Cal Strength.
Have you seen things a little differently since you've been, I don't want to say like taken up as one of their own, but now that you represent Cal Strength and you're like a pretty critical part of the team, and you represent them really well. And when people think about Cal Strength, it's West Kits, it's Chevy, it's Madison, it's Kelly. Do you see things a little differently too? And do you, because I guess you mentioned how when you reach out to people and um, the way you try to convey yourself, but when you were actually brought on as like one of the team members, did that kind of change the way you thought about your own training and thought about the way, I guess, other people like perceived you or you interact with other people?
Honestly, no. Obviously, I'm very grateful, and it changed my life,
Hmm.
absolutely. But I don't see myself any differently.
Hmm.
I've always wanted, ever since I stepped into Cal Strength, I was like, I've always wanted to like be a part of the team.
Hmm.
But I don't really see myself like being any different. Like I've always like kind of had the mindset. If anything, gotten I've been more hungry to win, but
Hmm.
that's it.
Which is probably what got you started down this journey and to the point you're at now, anyways, is wanting to. I don't know if I don't want to put words in your mouth, not to be the best, but obviously to do the best that you can do, and whatever that means,
No, I
whatever
want
that
to be the
takes.
best.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I guess I'm putting words in your mouth. And um, no, that's awesome. And I guess we can actually get into the most recent performances then, and in the actual numbers that you are making more routine. So for people who haven't seen, and I guess they would have to live under a rock, given that it's pretty much everywhere. Um, but what are some of your best numbers? Snatch, clean and jerk, and then you talked about the strength cycle really kind of starting to blow up. Your legs, I guess. Maybe you can just list your numbers, and then we can talk about what it's been like seeing those numbers continue to climb.
Actually, my best snatch is only 81.
Hmm.
That'll change very soon though.
Yeah,
And my best clean and jerk is 109.
and back squat, front squat, and then I think jerk's taken off too. So.
Yeah, back squat's 137.
Mhm.
My front squat is 116. I know it's weird.
I mean, but it speaks to I guess it speaks to your technique, right? Your efficiency. If you're you're clean and jerking, like Jesus Christ, like 95% of your best front squat. I could only dream of doing that.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me. I really try. I put in all the effort during those front squats. There's just I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think it's like a timing or a rhythm thing? It's like when you clean it, the transition and catching the bounce, I mean, you can take advantage of it and use it so well. I'm kind of curious to know too why the difference.
I I don't know. I just feel like cleaning it is easier than front squatting it.
Sure.
It's and yeah, I honestly unracking it from the rack, like it feels heavy,
Hmm.
and I think my brain power when it feels heavy, I'm like there's like this this little voice being like, oh, it's too heavy, you can't do that, and I think, it's not necessarily so much my legs aren't strong enough, but like my
Mhm.
my mental game isn't strong enough, which I've been working so hard on lately. I think that's why I clean
Mhm.
and jerked 109. But yeah, and then when I clean it, it just feels like, I don't know if you ever seen the pull from the ground. It's so
Mhm.
slow. So I'm like, okay, it feels heavy then, and then I just like bump it off my hips and then catch it, and then I'm like,
Mhm.
and then it feels good when I catch it. I'm like, oh, I could do this.
Yeah, and I don't think, the thing about a clean and jerk, especially a competition clean and jerk, is that there's a lot on the line. But for a front squat, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, people are hyped, people want you to make it very exciting, but it's just not like an American record clean and jerk.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything can get you quite that fired up. And I watched that 109, and that's the fucking stand up is crazy. Like, it's really fast. Like, you could convince me front squat 125, 130 with the way you muscle that up.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, yeah, your ability to catch the bounce, like timing, all that stuff is really good. Did you always feel like your technique was not like good from the start, but you had a good feel for the bar from the start? Because anyone who watches sees that it's really smooth, it's really vertical. You use your arm super well, you use your legs super well, and it just looks really natural.
Yeah, I can feel what people are, like, corrections people are giving me. Like,
Hmm.
they're like, "Oh, well, you on your toes." I'm like, "Yeah, like, okay, I can feel that." Like, I could,
Hmm.
and if you can feel it, you can fix it. And, that's the thing with, like, if you can't feel it and you just like see it in videos and you see it in videos and I'm recording myself, I see myself doing it, why can't I fix it?
Hmm.
Like, you can't feel it. Like, how are you going to fix something you can't feel? And I think that's what makes me different, is like I can literally feel what I'm doing wrong
Hmm.
100% of the time.
Yeah, I think that's the quote of the show. If you can feel it, you can fix it, and that's something coaches should probably get tattooed on their face and try to reiterate over and over. It's like, okay, yeah, we can watch it. I can explain it. Like, we can talk until we're blue in the face, but you've got to be able to feel the difference between being patient enough and not being patient enough. How to move the knees back,
Right.
all these things. So then when you go to actually do it during a heavy lift, it's able to be done versus just like, oh, I'll just kind of like pull and pray and see what happens.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. And then as far as the future of Maddison Pannell, I guess is it just more of the same? Just continue to train, continue to kind of, this always sounds kind of cheesy, but to trust the process, to listen to Captain Spitz, and continue to get stronger and become a better weightlifter.
Yeah, that's the goal. So I was very upset after, like, in December when, like, I was out totaled, got
Hmm.
third. I was just like defeated, and I'd always have looked at, like, what can I do to just smuggle my way into an international team? Like, what do I need
Hmm.
to do? What do I need to do? Like, little did I know that I have to, you know, be more consistent in the gym with those heavier numbers so I can, beat those girls. But also, looking at the bigger picture has definitely helped me. And Dave kind of,
Mm.
um, I was like sending him my ranking one day, like screenshotting it, and I was like, and just kept like texting him. I was like having like this like anxiety attack, like panic attack, and I was just like literally in the midst of like stupidly texting Dave and was like, if I could just do this and this, and he was like, can you stop? He was like, you need to stop looking at what you can do to just get on the international team. What you need to look at is medaling at an international
Mm.
team. If it's not this year, it's next year. Like, so I was like, you're taking that into, literally his word into my heart. And I'm not just like listening, like I'm literally taking his word into my heart and believing it. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, like I'm so new. Like, it's okay
Mhm.
to, to not make an international team this year. And like yeah, it would be fucking awesome to medal at an international meet rather than just, oh, you're third. Oh, you smuggled your way on somehow, like kind of thing. Like
Hmm.
instead of like being like, oh no, this girl's going to worlds because she's, the best in the country.
Yeah, it's not about being a flash in the pan. It's about being like a mainstay, someone who year after year you expect to be there. It's kind of like with Wes Kitts now. People just expect Wes to be the best everywhere he goes. You don't, it's not just one of those things where it's like, oh, he just happened to make a team or something. But the expectation for him is like, hey, we're going to play with the top dogs and we're going to come away with a medal, and that's kind of the expectation. So is it, I guess, like reframing that, and is it something you think about a lot, or is it something, just with the conversations with Dave?
No, I think about it at least like 8 times a day. It makes myself sick thinking about winning.
And then transitioning a little bit more, you've started to kind of open up the nutrition services for people who are, is it just for weightlifters or for people like in strength sports, or
No.
maybe you can provide us with some details?
I help everyone and anyone who wants help.
Yeah.
But ultimately I'm there to guide you, and I'm there to,
Hmm.
give you your numbers, and I'm there to adjust your numbers if needed, and I'm there to support you and tell you like, cuz also I have never really talked about this, but I started binge eating after like my first competition in December of like 2019 because
Hmm.
I restricted myself from food. I ate 1,000 calories, and then like after the competition, I was like, oh, I can just go back to like my regular eating, like before I started cutting. And I just started like binge eating. And
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you know anything about binge eating, but like it's literally like this terrible cycle of like just shoving food in your mouth. And
Hmm.
it's just honestly the worst thing ever. And I still have like little like episodes like that, but addressing it and knowing. And I think that's why I started doing that was actually because I cut so hard. And so I
Hmm.
just to be educated is like just solves all the problems. So I just kind of help people not to get to that point of like
Hmm.
it's okay to eat more than 1,000 calories and to, and you can still reach your goal when you
Hmm.
eat, like kind of thing. And it's okay to cheat sometimes. And so I would make myself feel so guilty of food, like saying
Hmm.
like literally, like I would be like, I shouldn't have eaten that. And I would be so mean to myself. And, I developed this terrible, terrible relationship with food and like binge eating. And didn't address it for a long ass time because like I like to think of myself as like a perfect human. There's nothing wrong with me. Yeah, that's just kind of like what I do my best to avoid in people who have a goal, like especially cutting like I did too. I really make it a point and bring it to their attention too and be like,
Hmm.
hey, could possibly happen, like let's not make this happen ever again. Or like, obviously people who have slower goals, I also bring that to their attention, but I also work with them just like a little slower and like less aggressive.
When you're preparing for a meet, is that, so do you use like and I mean, you stay shredded, but is it like the kind of shorter term strategies that you use, or do you just stay close enough to the weight class where it's just like a kilo and a half, to kind of bump down so it's not as, as miserable every time you compete and want to compete as a 49?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't weighed myself in 2 weeks, and I don't know how much I weigh right now, but but it's okay. But I don't get heavier than like 52.5.
Hmm.
Yeah, just because I think it's easier to cut when you're lighter, and it is.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
yeah, confidence too when you're like sitting at a low body weight and you're like, "Oh, hell yeah, I just lifted that." Like, and then you cut only a little bit, you're like, "Oh, I can still lift that," rather than like
Mhm.
thinking the opposite.
Yeah. So have you felt pretty good? I mean, flashback to a couple weeks ago after weigh-ins, and you're trying to kind of get prepped for the meet. Do you feel kind of like at your top shape now, even after the small little cut in a lighter weight class?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I actually had a little bit of a hiccup this weigh-in because my scale was just a little different than the scale, the gym scale, and so I was like, "Oh, I can eat this morning," and so I ate, and I weighed in at like 50 kilos, and I was like, "Fuck." So I had to sit in the sauna for a little
Mhm.
bit, but it was a really good experience, you know, like being in my own home and like being able to be like, "Oh, I could do it." You know, it's possible, and I didn't feel like shit. It was just water weight. Um but yeah. That was a really terrible thing. I don't know how people do that every time. But yeah, I did feel really good after because I mean, shit, I got to eat breakfast, right?
Is there and I know a lot of people have kind of talked about the meat being a hybrid. I got before I even asked the question I thought of initially, what was your experience like competing with this hybrid meet where, some people are at the venue, some people are remote, and it's kind of switching in between. Did you kind of enjoy that? Do you enjoy the home field advantage competing at Cal Strength, or is there something missing? Having to be, you know, hundreds and hundreds of miles away from the actual venue.
Uh, I I honestly don't care.
Hmm. Sure.
The only thing I thought was cool was, you know, like all my friends and stuff got to see, and
Hmm.
you know, obviously they wouldn't have got to do that if I was, you know, in whatever state that Utah, I think.
Yeah, Utah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's cool. And then, you know, I get to go home and sleep in my own bed, and that's, you know, I already have like I'm not a really good sleeper, and you're in you're in a hotel room, and I'm like, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm gonna die tonight in this bed. Like, sometimes I set an alarm to make sure I'm not dead at night. I'm a really bad sleeper. I like have like sleep anxiety.
Hmm.
Like, what am I missing out on right now? Like, it's terrible. That's why I think it's why I get up so early. I'm like, okay, I'm awake. What's the day bringing to me now?
That's funny. Was there a particular reason why the team didn't go to Utah?
Yeah, it was just, you know, coronavirus. We're in a
Hmm.
pandemic.
No, no, that makes complete
Yeah,
sense.
I didn't want to get like, cuz you know, I work with children, and I would have had to like take time off of like, you know, they only come certain number of days a week, and I'm the only person who can coach them. So if I had to take
Hmm.
time off, then so would they.
Hmm.
And we had a competition coming up last weekend, so I didn't want to take the time off for them and then like have to get tested and like all that good stuff. So it was pretty much for them and for me.
After the competition, we're kind of trying to plan out the rest of the year. Have you and the team, or have you and Dave sat down and said, okay, this is what the competition schedule looks like. This is what our goals should be. I don't know if that's numbers or what does the rest of 2021 look like for Maddison Pannell?
So in June there is nationals, and
Hmm.
I will try to beat the total and bump myself to second. And
Hmm.
that's so I'm just training for that just so I can have a spot on either the world team or the international team this year. But if that doesn't happen, then I'll just be continuing to train after June until I get another opportunity.
Hmm. Do you know how much you have to put on your total to put yourself in a good position for that?
Um, right now, yes, but Jordan and Haley are both competing
Hmm.
in Pan Am's, and I'm sure that they're training just as hard as I am.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that total to beat will go up, or, you know, so I'm not banking on anything. I have a goal to snatch more than freaking 80 kilos in the next week. Um, because I feel like I'm super competitive, obviously, with like my clean and jerk, and
Hmm.
that's gonna go up for sure. I just need to step up my mental game and my snatch, because I'm obviously strong enough to be able to snatch more than 80, but just I haven't done it yet.
We can expect, Jordan to show up and show out, but what has really surprised me, and I don't know if this is just because I'm out of the loop, is Haley's training lately. I mean, she's been looking fantastic with like just hitting massive, massive lifts. And so I don't know, for you, does that motivate you at all?
No.
Do you think about, okay, so do you like follow them closely and keep up with their training, or is it something where you just would rather not know, or does it just not matter?
I would rather not know, honestly. It just a part of me when I wasn't this good, like I would literally stalk them all the time. And now what they're doing in the gym has nothing to do with what I'm doing in the gym. Like my goal is the same as theirs. I shouldn't be trying to hit a number that they're trying to hit just because they're hitting it. Like I should be hitting the number because I want to hit it. So I actually blocked both of them off of Instagram. I'm like, fuck this. Like they're like popping on my explore page, and like I am sure that they are great people and they're so nice. And I've talked to Jordan like once before at like AO finals, and she is so sweet and she's freaking adorable. And Haley, it seems like she's just a sweet little angel. And I don't, that's to each, they're probably great people. But competitive wise, it honestly gives me anxiety because there's nothing I'm looking at their videos, like what am I gonna do right now as I'm like having anxiety of like Haley hitting these great numbers and she's looking freaking good. I'm like, I don't know her body weight, like I don't know
Right.
I don't know what she's doing as a job. Like I don't know anything about this girl. Like why should I be comparing myself to her? Like can I go to the gym right now as I'm sitting in my bed at 9:00 at night? No.
Right. Yeah, you don't know how many misses before the make, how many makes, you don't know anything. It's just so out of context. And I can really respect that. And I think that's one thing that might be lost sometimes is that, social media isn't necessarily like who you like or dislike. It's just like what you want to see on a daily basis. So if you, tend to avoid certain people, it's not because they're bad people. It's because your world needs to look a little different for, as you said, competitive reasons. And one thing I just want to rehash because I think it's funny. But a while back, I remember your jerks being like a little wonky. I remember watching a few kind of get walked out and all that good stuff. But now, what have you jerked from the blocks? I remember like 108, 110, something like that.
It was 110.
110. And have you done anything differently for the jerk to make them? I mean, they look super consistent now. They look like they're placed in a really good spot. They look great. Has that just been, again, just more training as a weightlifter and you've gotten better? Or have you kind of worked on anything technically or found anything in the program that's really helped?
Yeah, my dip and drive has definitely gotten better. Gotten more controlled and not as forward. I mean, on like the heavier weights, I'm just like a tiny bit on my toes still, but actually Dave, I was doing like the level 1 and Dave was like, because my power position's always been like at my hips, and like we were like kind of trying to change that, and like I was at the level 1 and he was like, okay, the power position is like the same as like the dip and drive position. And I like literally clicked for me and I was like, oh. And so ever since then, like I just think of, that, and it kind of helps me. And also writing down like what I'm feeling, because I have like a little weightlifting journal, Madison's journal for today. And I have like little like Dave quotes in there and like Wes quotes and like whatever they're telling me that day, and like whatever clicks in my brain, and like literally what I'm feeling is like, oh, okay, like yeah, I feel like I'm more back on my heels. I should probably write that down. That's probably important. So that also like helps me get better too.
And I can hear people now listening to this podcast and saying that's a fantastic tip for the jerk. And I don't want to gloss over the other two lifts. With the clean, is there anything else with you that has helped? Again, because your clean's been blown up too. I think I saw you clean 110 recently too.
Yeah.
Is there anything specifically that's helped you kind of either conceptualize the clean or just become, again, more efficient? Anything specifically that sticks out?
Trying not to hip clean is, I mean, I
Mm,
still do it, but like having it in my, I literally think about it every single time I pick up the barbell when I clean, is trying not to hip clean, trying to
mhm,
bring it into my thighs and pull it vertically. When
mhm,
it gets heavier, it kind of goes out the window. But how you stop that, how you stop hip cleaning is your start position.
mhm,
So focusing on my start position with like a bottom down just like a little bit more, and like just honestly shoulders back,
mm,
um and like not losing it from the floor. Like, so if I'm pulling it from the floor and my shoulders are back and my back's tight, my
mhm.
shoulders are going to stay back and my back's going to stay tight, rather than like my shoulders being forwards and then like all of a sudden my butt shoots up and then now I'm like pulling it, like strippering it up kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So that's working, and this was literally like months of work of like
Mhm,
trying to figure out how to pull my shoulders back, brace, and keep my butt down at the same time, and not to hip clean, like months. And just implementing that every single day, not taking one lift. And I was like clerking like 75 when I first started learning how to do that, and when like we first started trying to change it. So it's
mhm.
been like a process, but obviously it's beneficial.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. That's incredibly detailed. With the snatch, what are you guys working on, and what do you think is going to help you take that lift to the next level to kind of match where your clean and your jerk currently is?
Yeah, I get behind the bar when it gets heavier,
Mm, hmm.
and I got so mad the other day because I was why can other people get behind the bar and like still make it, and like I get behind the bar just a little bit and it loops behind me, and like super annoying. And Dave was like, because you're small, he's like,
Hmm.
small people have to be more efficient in their lifts rather than bigger people getting behind the bar, and they can
Hmm.
have all this weight to like bear. That kind of made more sense to me. So what we're working on right now is just staying confident above the knee, and
Hmm.
just like trusting it, because I get scared. um and then I get like all these like voices in my head saying like, "Ah, it's too heavy, you're gonna break your elbows." So that's something I've been working on too, is just like just being more confident. And I honestly, 2 weeks leading up to this past competition, like I honestly knew I was gonna hit 81 snatch
Mm,
in the competition. I was like, it's gonna happen. I'm like, I feel fucking strong. I feel good, and it just didn't work out. So I
mm.
mean, I don't know. I got scared and started like tightening my elbows and stuff.
To go along with that, I think those are great cues and great kind of technical concepts that people might find beneficial. Do you have any favorite exercises for, say, the snatch, clean, and jerk? Accessory exercises that you feel have really helped you either feel the lift better or become more efficient with the technique.
Honestly, strengthening my hamstrings was probably the best
Mm,
thing I could have done, just because, hamstrings helped so much and on
right.
all of your lifts. If you're super weak in your hamstrings, and people who I talk to about this are like, "Oh yeah, I'm super quad dominant," like and like, okay, well, fix it. Like, I don't. Okay, like, what are you doing? Like, so, I mean, if you're trying to be strong all around and doing all of my accessories and like, okay, my shoulder hurts. Okay, let's find out why my shoulder hurts, and
Mhm,
let's find out what I need to do to make it better right away.
mhm,
So, rather than like, I mean, obviously people have injuries and stuff, but and I know what an injury feels like. But having those little aches and pains and stuff and fixing them right away has, I think, has also made my lifts stronger. And hamstrings, do some RDLs or something.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think we're kind of coming up on the end of the episode, which I felt was a lot of fun and really fantastic. One, to get to know you more, but also to get, to kind of hear experiences, at Cal Strength under Dave with the lifts, what's really helped you improve and become, the kind of the breakout star that you're becoming. If people are interested in knowing more, seeing more, hearing more, where can we direct them so they can kind of get in touch?
I usually answer all of my DMs on Instagram, except if you're trying to like here, have these
Slide
free
into it.
supplements. No, I don't want your supplements. I eat whole foods. Actually, no. If you want to send me some protein powder, though, like, I'm just kidding. Or some money, my Venmo is. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but Instagram's the best. My username's MAD_DIISON.
Okay, and do you have like I'm so old. Do you have like a TikTok or like stuff like that?
The way you said that, I actually don't like people to know about my TikTok. It's so embarrassing. I post like, okay, so on Instagram it's like all like, lifting videos and like cute little me, and then on TikTok I post like these just, I know no one's gonna see it kind of thing, so I just post myself.
Gotcha.
So if you find me on TikTok, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're gonna have a barrage of people searching your TikTok up just to watch it and get a nice chuckle out of that.
Yeah, let's just say I was trying on outfits for TikTok the other day and was like, what should I wear? I'm 26, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome. And then if people again heard this and they're like, hey, Maddison is very nice, seems like she's know what she's talking about, and would like to work with you with the nutrition coaching, do you have spots open, and where could we direct them to get in touch about that?
Yeah, if they want more information, they can also just message me on Instagram. I do, check my requests or whatever if I'm not like following you, but I'm like, I have like maybe 2 spots right now just because I like to be, efficient, and I like to give all my attention. So, just limited space available. I haven't posted on Instagram about those 2 spots yet, so maybe they'll be open, but you can always ask me questions about nutrition too if you're like, I can't afford that, like, but what should I do? Like, I'm always like, oh, I'll help you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not going to count your macros and spend all day with you, but like, I'll help you.
Yeah. And then I'd like to end the show a little differently, just to have a break from how things normally go, where it's like this, hey, tell people where to find you. It's like, all right, see ya. What's one thing that people don't know about you that they would find interesting? Just anything.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm such an open book. Honestly, what's coming like to my brain right now is like, I have fake teeth.
Really?
Yeah, my front 4 teeth are fake.
Wow, that is interesting.
Yeah, I had like root reabsorption when I was like 17, and then so like my teeth were like kind of loose, and then I went to Mexico and I got a really bad bacterial infection, and then like my teeth literally like almost fell out, so I had to get implants. So my front 4 teeth are implants.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 18, ended up being 18, and then like was just in like this immense debt when I was 18 for my teeth. I actually just paid it off like 2 years ago.
Oh, congrats.
Thanks.
So yeah, was that like were you worried, or was it like traumatizing at all? 'Cause
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that would be like.
I can like still feel them like scraping in my gums like sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I'm fine. My teeth are pretty. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's no, that's really good.
Is
I need to keep that
enough? Is that interesting? I can think of more.
No. No, panic. That's plenty. No, that's awesome.
Okay.
Definitely something unique, and now a talking point for anyone who kind of comes up to you at a national meet. It's like, man, you have a great smile.
Like, look at my fake teeth.
No, that's great. For everyone who has tuned in and enjoyed the episode, enjoyed hearing Maddison and I
Is this
kind of
live?
shoot the shit. No. I'm just, you always talk to people as though they're listening to it live. And I say like, hey, we're live. And it's a I'm just lying. I'm
Okay,
completely
you
lying.
liar. Okay, cool.
I know, but people are going to listen to this and they're going to think, wow, Maddison is a great person. So feel free to reach out. Feel free to kind of message her about, again, nutrition, training stuff, and just whatever you feel is, interesting and would like to know. You can find me on Instagram at Josh_PhilWL. That's PHILWL. You can follow the club at Clintonville Barbell, and we will catch you guys on another episode of the podcast. Thanks for listening.